Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Really excited to have you join us today. We should be getting started in just about a moment. So I'll just give everyone one more moment to log in from wherever people are logging in from during this period. All right, well, welcome. Thank you all for joining us here today. We're really excited to kick off what we're calling our online learning series. This one, our first webinar, is our Better Plans Town Hall. So next slide. That's me, Eli Levine. I was slightly more dressed up than I am now during our days of quarantine, but really excited to be with you here today and to have this webinar. So next slide. I lead our Better Plans program. So first off, and I just can't say it enough, I really want to thank so many of our manufacturers, our industrial community for stepping up and helping to respond to this these great challenges that our country and the world are facing. These are really just a handful of the headlines that we've seen. We've been tracking this, of watching all of our partners, and you see it on LinkedIn as well. It's really an immense point of pride for me and for all of you as well to see how manufacturers are dealing with this pandemic and coping and pivoting their businesses to help respond and address the challenges that we're facing. So there's so many more headlines, and that's really in the spirit of this is one of the reasons that we're bringing people here today. Just as one of the great things that I really like about the Better Plans program and what we're trying to do through the Department of Energy is to use our platform as a convening platform to bring people together and to allow them to share what they're seeing at their plants, what they're seeing in their communities, and how we can learn from each other and maybe work through some challenges that we're facing. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is the first in an online learning series. We thought we would announce 6 to start off with, and depending on how they go, how we keep your interest, and how long this stay-at-home orders last, we may well keep these going. There's a lot of interest, I know, amongst our partners and amongst our team to bring more and more topics. But the goal for these is to visit you guys every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, with the exception of every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, with the exception of one week where we are moving into Wednesday. And these will be a mix. It will be a chance to elevate our partners and let them share their stories and learn from each other. A chance for us to bring some training while you may be home and working from home, or are working in alternate circumstances, to really brush up on some important knowledge that your businesses could benefit from. And then lastly, an opportunity to bring some new resources that you may not be aware of that your plans can avail themselves of. So I'm really excited for that in week 4 there. To bring our colleagues from the Department of Agriculture, who work in the Rural Development Program, and the Department of Commerce Manufacturing Extension Partnership Center to share the resources that their offices are offering as well. I mean, this is one where normally when we're in the office, USDA is just across the street from us at the Department of Energy, and all too often we haven't done as good of a job as possible with helping for us to know the phenomenal resources they offer, and then helping share them with you as well. So I hope this webinar series and what's to come in the upcoming weeks will help to provide a little more knowledge for you guys and help you take advantage of these awesome resources. One thing I just want to mention off the top, this webinar is being recorded. So this is something that we'll provide for those who can't make, and all of these webinars will be recorded. So if you can't make the exact time when we're doing it, we'll record it and transcribe it and then share it on our webpage so that you can watch it later. I know that's something with other organizations' webinars that I end up doing a lot, where I sign up and I'm able to watch the webinar later. So next slide. So the agenda for today. This is how we'll spend the day. I'm really excited about this. We'll have a program update from the Better Plans program, what's new with the program, some new tools and resources for you to leverage, and then some potential upcoming events and opportunities that we hope you'll be able to join us at. And then from there, we'll pivot to a partner town hall. I mean, we'd love to turn the conversation to how partners are adapting to the global pandemic, what they're seeing at their plants, what this means for energy management, and what the future will look like, and how better plants can support you. And for this second part of it, we're just beyond thrilled to have Al Hildreth from General Motors joining us to share his experiences at his plant, and how they've been stepping up and leading in during this time of COVID-19, and what they're seeing from their vantage point. So next slide, please. So I guess I'll start with the program update here. One thing that I'll mention, this is the first time we're trying one of these all remotely during a webinar, and we want this to be participatory. But the way we're going to do this is I'm going to make my brief presentation. We'll turn it over to Al to make his brief presentation. I believe there's a feature through the webinar where you can raise your hand, and we'll be monitoring to see if those who raise their hand, and then we'll be unmuting you and calling on you afterwards. There's also the opportunity for you to type your question into the box, and we can do it that way too. So I just want to flag that off the top that we're very much looking to have this be a participatory time, but to avoid unmuting everyone and having all of the background noise and everything else that has probably interrupted all of your other Zoom meetings and conference calls during this time. This is how we're going to try to do this now. So to start off with an update of the program, we're really excited that we just keep growing and bringing more and more partners in. In the last few weeks, we've added six partners, and we're very excited about that. And we hope that if you're joining us here and you've not become a part of the program, know that we would love to have you be part of it. There's no cost to participate in this program, and it's a voluntary program where the Department of Energy is just hoping to lend its technical assistance towards helping helping your plants improve their energy performance and save costs. So next slide, please. Some important dates to remember for those in the program. First, on the data side, we obviously recognize that these are years. This is a year in circumstances unlike any other. So there's certainly going to be an understanding of the extenuating circumstances. We do want to encourage you to turn your data in as soon as possible. This is really important for us. Not only does it help us quantify the impact of the program, which goes a long way towards demonstrating our value and celebrating the success that we've all seen, but really helps us track your performance and helps our technical account managers identify where they can better assist you. And then secondly, the Better Practice and Project Awards, which was something we had started a few years ago to celebrate really innovative practices and projects that our partners are undertaking every year, and bring attention to them so that we can highlight and provide recognition on a yearly basis, as opposed to waiting until you are a goal achiever, however many years down the road. We've extended the deadline to apply for this. It's now the 8th of May. So it's a short 4-page application, and I encourage you in the program, if you have something great, to work with your technical account manager and let them, you lean on them, let them do most of the write-up if you want or not. But it's a short application, and it's really just it's really awesome to see how much our partners and the community love seeing who wins these awards every year. It was our most popular session last year at the summit, and we're always looking for new avenues to recognize and help you tell your story of these innovative practices and projects. So we encourage you to apply, and hopefully we'll be able to recognize many of you. Just turn that in by May 8th. Next slide. We've mentioned this a few times over the years. This was a prize that the Department of Energy had launched that had been extended, but the deadline is coming up. It's May 15th. But this is a prize that's looking to, as it says on the screen, to find individuals who are responsible for creative, specific, and innovative ideas. So we're trying to bring the attention to those everyday folks on the factory floor who are really driving energy savings, but may not get the same attention that the Chief Sustainability Officer does, or some of you as well. So we're trying to have you share those ideas and recognize the individuals. There's a $5,000 cash prize per winner. So there will be 5 winners in the small, medium, and large categories. 5 winners per category. The winners will be announced in July. And this year too, we want to make it as simple as, in these times, we want to make it as simple as possible to apply. So it's a 3-page application to turn that in. So May 15th is the deadline for this. If you're interested or you know someone at your plants that would benefit from this, we'd love to have it. If your company has a policy where you can't accept the cash prize, we're fine with that too. We're still happy to provide the recognition and point to you as a winner. So next slide. And so the upcoming slides are about a few events that we have going on. I think for all of us, there's uncertainty, and every day we hope to find out a little bit more about what the future will bring and what we'll be able to do in the summer and fall months. So right now we're saving the date for what we're calling a Fundamentals of Energy Management Training Workshop. This workshop with extensive hands-on activity has been created to educate attendees on the key aspects of industrial energy efficiency and management. Topics range from improving energy efficiency in individual energy support systems like steam and compressed air, to establishing an energy management system, to enhancing and sustaining manufacturing facilities' energy performance. Finally, attendees will learn how to use diagnostic equipment along with DOE's free software tools for identifying energy conservation opportunities or quantifying energy savings. So we'd love to have you there. If you have other staff or junior staff or new staff or other folks that you think would really benefit from this type of workshop, by all means, feel free to pass this along as well. And there's an optional tour on August 21st. So if you haven't been down to Oak Ridge National Lab and are interested in seeing all the phenomenal resources that they have there, we want to facilitate that as well. Should anything change at this, we will let you know. But right now, that we're saving the date for the middle of August for this event. Next slide. We will, right now we are still planning to participate and have an active presence at the Association of Energy Engineers World Energy Engineering Conference, which is taking place in mid to late September, September 23rd to 25th in Denver, Colorado. They have a great lineup of speakers and always bring in a good crowd. And we have typically we have, and we will this year as well, have our own dedicated track of panels. So if there's any topics that you're interested in hearing, or if there's any panels that you would like to present what your company is doing, please let us know, and we can. Right now we're in the planning stages for this, so we're still happy to explore that as well. Next slide. And then lastly, we're planning to hold our 4th annual Technology Days. So this is a really exciting event where we invite industry to come in and explore one of the DOE national labs. So it's a few days, 2 days or so of tours and meeting with experts and seeing new technologies and understanding presentations on how to work with the national labs. And there's Argonne National Lab, which is just outside of Chicago, really presents some phenomenal resources and extraordinary capabilities. So topics that we'll cover include sustainability, manufacturing and process R&D, applied materials, energy systems, supercomputing and AI, energy storage. If you don't know Argonne's legacy with batteries and energy storage, they really are the grandfather of most of the energy storage technologies that we see today. Building energy and modeling and management, combined heat and power, water treatment, robotics, and then already they're starting to put together a list of what these 2 days would look like in terms of tours, and they're excited to roll out a whole new manufacturing materials facility, the Center for Nanoscale Materials, the Argonne Leadership Computing Facility, a Smart Energy Plaza, the Center for Transportation Research. So again, there's plenty of uncertainty in the world right now, and we'll see how we're able to travel. But right now, we're planning for this event October 13th through 15th just save it as a date on your calendars, and hopefully we'll be able to see you there in the fall. Next slide, please. And then moving on to some of the resources, just to provide an update on what we've been up to. We're moving to modernize to open source software for our tools. We want to provide industry with the technology and vendor agnostic analysis and evaluation tools. And really the best aspect, the best example of this is our Measure tool suite. This is taking all of our system software tools, our system level software tools, and making it available through one open source platform. So it currently has 5 system modelers and 40+ individual calculators for field validation. This includes built-in guides and tutorials, guided process to perform system assessment and field validation. You can take the novice approach or the expert approach. They've customized it so it can work with you no matter what level you're on. They have dashboards for multi-system summary roll-ups, dynamically generated summary reports, on and on. So they've been updating all of our system tools that DOE has used for and has developed for decades. They've already updated the process heat tool, the pump tool, the fans tool, the steam tool, and then the energy treasure hunt module, which I know has been very popular. Right now, they're already working on our compressed air and our motor tool, the Air Master Plus and the Motor Master Plus, and expect to have those done sometime this summer. Lastly, the other part of our tools that I'm very excited to highlight is our plant water profiler. So this has been the topic of our new in-plant training on water efficiency, but it's the plant water profiler tool is a comprehensive tool designed by use for manufacturing plants to help their sustainability teams understand the procurement, use, and disposal of water in their plants, to be cognizant of the true cost of water, including the costs associated with water procurement, treatment and consumption of water and wastewater disposal, and then to identify opportunities to reduce water use and achieve associated cost savings. So all of these are online. They're on our website. I encourage you to take advantage of them. We have a crack team at Oak Ridge that is sort of perpetually updating these tools to make sure that they are as accessible and easy, and developing new resources to take advantage. And we, by all means, want to be responsive to you guys in the industrial community. So if there's anything that the tools aren't working or could be done better, please email me directly. Please, talk with your technical account manager. We constantly have a team that's focused directly on these tools. So if there's anything we can do to improve it, we want to. Lastly, on this page, if you notice in the bottom center and bottom right of the slide, this is to highlight our diagnostic equipment loan program. So we have a closet's worth of diagnostic tools that we are happy to lend out to your plants. They're free of charge. We'll mail it to you. We'll teach you how to use it and how to get the most out of the tool. And all we ask is just mail it back to us, unbroken. This has been something that has been really growing in popularity in the program, and my colleague at Oak Ridge passed along that we've seen Saint-Gobain take advantage of the treasure hunt kit tool recently, Leggett and Platt borrowing instruments to log power and determine how much compressor operations cost, which will feed directly into an evaluation of when and how to replace some air compressors. Titan X borrowed equipment last year to evaluate water flow rates and heat transfer. LeGrand, just continues to leverage the program as well as anyone. They've borrowed instruments in the fall to collect data that can be used in the energy footprint tool, and then additionally, Ozinga Brothers borrowed instruments to determine what would make sense for them to buy. So there's all sorts of different motivations for leveraging our diagnostic equipment program. Whatever is yours, we encourage you to take advantage of it. There's really no cost to participate. Next slide. It's a shame with all of this going on. Most of our in-plant trainings are now having to be rescheduled, but 2020 served as our biggest year ever for in-plant trainings, where we've offered the most amount of in-plant trainings. I encourage you to check our website to check out the status of the in-plant training schedule, to stay up to date on what's available and the other opportunities for training, including all the videos from the pre-implant training webinars that we've posted on the website. So I want to commend all of our partners who've been awarded these implant trainings. We can't wait to offer them to you. If you're looking through this and you're saying, we're sort of based near Wickliffe, Kentucky. I'd love to take advantage of the multi-system implant training for fans and pumps that Ingevity is hosting. Let us know. Work with your TAM. Let me know. More often than not, our Better Plants partners are happy to open the door and accommodate other folks who aren't hosting the training. Whether it's part of their supply chain or other Better Plants partners or other manufacturers in the area. We want these to be as accessible to everyone as possible. So that's obviously up to the host partner, but if there's one that's near you that you're interested in, please let us know and we'll try to work with the company to accommodate you. And then be on the lookout in the next many months for the next round of implant trainings. Next slide. Our field validation pilot, this is something that we're very excited about, and we hope to launch really just as soon as things return to normalcy a little bit more. This is something we held a workshop on last fall. Essentially we hear from by being a part of the program, these companies have set audacious energy, water, waste reduction goals, and are leveraging our technical assistance, but oftentimes are also looking for that new technology and the innovation that can help them make the big jumps in energy performance that they're looking for to achieve their goals. And whether it means when they're at a trade show or they're just stepping outside, many partners are being inundated with vendors and entrepreneurs and innovators who say, oh, do I have the technology for you? And we're here to try to develop a way to do some verification and validation to identify which technologies could really have that true impact. And so bringing national lab experts to your plant to test the technology and write it up in a report so that not every partner or every company feels like they have to hold their own experiment on whether or not these technologies have the impact that they're saying they will. So this is something that we're really excited about, but want to make sure when we're launching it that it's launched perfectly as a pilot. So we're getting all of our ducks in a row and preparing for it, but stay tuned because we think it could be something that our partners could really leverage. Next slide. This time, while we're home, we're using it to try to publish as many case studies as possible that we're sharing on the Better Building Solutions Center. These are 6 that we most recently published. Our time now is a wonderful time to go and check out the Better Building Solutions Center. They have over, I think, 2,500 solutions out there on all sorts of different topics. So I want to commend these partners, Xerox, Bristol Myers Squibb, Saint-Gobain, Schneider, Celanese for their leadership. It's the record of excellence that you guys are showing that give us the case studies that we can develop. And for those of you who aren't familiar with these case studies or familiar with what the Better Building Solutions Center is, I encourage you to check it out. One of the really great things about the program, beyond the technical assistance we offer, is just the ability for partners to learn from other companies. So if there's a strategy that one company employed, there's a lot that another company can do to read about their case study and determine if there's something that they could replicate in that strategy. Next slide. And then lastly, if you're, these are just 3 initiatives that they're not new, but some of them are newer than others. But I really encourage you to take advantage of these, particularly the supply chain initiative. Many of you are thinking about science-based targets or scope 3 emissions and, just driving sustainability down your supply chain. And, we view ourselves as a really great resource for companies. So if there's a way for you to bring your suppliers in, let them in the program, let them have the technical expertise at Oak Ridge to help them through, and for you to get updates on how they're doing, and be able to better track and monitor your suppliers' performance. We see it as just a really great opportunity. So we've had 5 OEMs take advantage of this so far, with about 6 to 10 of their suppliers per per cohort. And if you're not doing this, I'd love to see you bring your suppliers in and let them work with us. But then additionally, our water savings initiative and our new waste reduction initiative as well. We're piloting the waste reduction initiative. I think we have about 20 industrial partners who've stepped up and are participating in it. And that's, if you're interested in setting water or waste goals, we'd love to work with you on that. Next slide. So that about wraps it up for an update from the Better Plants program. We have a lot of new materials that are coming that our technical account managers are developing. Our baseline, the update to the baseline guidance document, a number of other research white papers and other materials that we hope you'll benefit from. But we'll be hopefully meeting here every Thursday for 6 weeks to come. So we will share them as they become developed. So with that, I want to turn this over to Al Hildreth, who we're just so excited to be joining us here today and being able to provide the industry perspective of what companies are seeing here and share GM's leadership story of how they've responded to this pandemic. So Al, I will turn this over to you, and we're just thanks again for being here with us today.
Okay. And thanks, Eli, for that great introduction, as well as all the great information you provided us. I'll put in a plug that I didn't hear you talk about, which was your 50,001 Ready application. That has really helped us organize ourselves related to energy management. And I think we've got about 25 plants been recognized with that so far. And it's just a great program. So if anyone out there is in need of getting yourself organized with where you're at each of multiple facilities, or even one, this is really a great program, so appreciate that. Next slide, please. So I want to start off with just kind of personalizing this, and I guess, I'm doing fine, which is really good during the COVID-19 crisis that we're in. I spent the first couple weeks in March down in Florida with my grandkids. It was kind of a spring break and babysitting vacation. They live down there. And then kind of the news hit, and when I got back, then we were, quarantined in Michigan because of the governor's order. But I'm doing fine. But it really kind of struck home last night. I attended my first virtual funeral, which a friend of mine passed away from COVID-19 in Spain. And so, when you're watching a funeral and you can't, be with friends and family, it kind of really strikes you and it hits you hard. So I want to talk about GM's response to the COVID-19 virus, and I'll start off talking about energy management, how that's benefited us, as well as what our response is in making ventilators and masks. So first I want to say, sustainability is really in our DNA. Our commitment is, our vision actually is a world with zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And if you've read any of the newspapers, some people are getting kind of a glimpse of what that's like now. There's people that say they can now see the Himalaya mountains, from their backyard. They've never been able to see them before in their life. People are seeing clean water in Venice. If you've ever been to Venice, you would never have imagined that the canals there could be clean as they are right now. So, maybe this is going to give people a glimpse of what, true sustainability in the long term could really look like. So we're excited about this. And, we have some, basically sustainability is in our key values. But first off and foremost is our overriding priority, which is safety. And so most of what I'll talk about today is related to keeping people safe. And so it's mostly public information, except for the energy management stuff that I can talk pretty much freely about. But the rest of it will be public information, and we'll end up with kind of a video that'll show the progress of making ventilators. So next slide, please. So the things I want to talk about first we had to close all of our major manufacturing facilities in the Americas recently. We had closed facilities in China and in Korea and in other parts of Asia. I happened to be in Wuhan last June doing an energy treasure hunt. And so I know some people there. I've tried to make some contacts and find out. I also have a cousin that lives in Wuhan. And her and her husband were in Thailand at the time vacationing, so they're very fortunate that they got quarantined in Thailand, which if you've ever been there, it's a beautiful place to be stuck at, I guess, in a bad situation. So what I'll talk about then is how our energy management system kind of kicked in and is able to, without having a lot of people involved, because most of the people in our facilities are not able to be there. But that's been really beneficial for us. I'll talk a little bit about that. Our support of ventilator production with Ventec, and how we've started to manufacture respirators as well. Next slide. So first, energy management. That's the thing that I really enjoy the most. I have fun with it. Been doing it for a lot of years, and so one thing we learned during our work stoppage last year, which lasted about 40 days due to a strike in the United States, was that we have the ability, since we have an online energy management system that can monitor each facility's energy use, we can do kind of hourly or daily or whatever frequency that we wish of energy reporting to see who's the best. And then we can track best practices. So we gathered a lot of information last year and from globally, really. So this is kind of a snapshot. I took the facility names out there to protect the innocent, but this is kind of a snapshot of what we look at on a daily basis. I just sent this report today. So every day I send it to our top leadership, our vice presidents, plant directors, facility managers, and utility managers, so that they can see how they performed and kind of look at some of their other facilities. And there's some competition involved in this. So people really want to be the highest percentage reduction. But typically we've done this in the past on holidays. We have contests on holidays as to who can get to be the lowest. And for out of these 54 facilities that we monitor this at in the Americas, we used to get around 80% reduction. And then, the strike kind of taught us a few things, some best practices, and this extended shutdown has taught us some more. So now we're up into the 90%, which is really good. Our 85th percentile of plants is about 92%, which is, in my mind, really a great feat. The other advantage of having an online energy management system when you can't physically be in a plant to gather data, which is what we have through our Energy OnStar system and others, is that you can forecast energy. And in areas where we have to do daily forecasting for gas, we've been able to save quite a bit of money by being able to have that information at our fingertips and reduce demand costs. We can see which plants are operating the best. We can look at our HVAC systems and see how many of them are operating. Hopefully at zero. We have a lot of plants that are just basically gone to zero HVAC systems, which is really great, especially when the weather cooperates with us in some areas. So there's a lot of advantages to having an online system that integrates multiple facilities together, especially when I don't have people in the plant. To look at information and to react to it. So I think this daily report, having information available and as continuous commissioning is really beneficial to us, and we're reaping the rewards of that. Next slide. So now I want to talk about, one of the things, as we mentioned, that once our facilities were shut down, we wanted to help respond to the virus. We have a lot of manufacturing facilities, supply chain capabilities, and so we chose some desperately needed medical supplies to assist with. one of which was ventilators, and the other is masks, which I'll talk about. We're doing some other things that we're not talking about publicly, but at least I know I can talk about these publicly. So one of the things, and I just saw a really great news interview with our CEO, Mary Barra, actually I think it's through Twitter, that talks about the record time that we partnered with Ventec in a short period of a month and started producing ventilators this week in our facility in Kokomo, Indiana. Used to make, semiconductors and still make electronic components here. And so this week we started producing ventilators. As safety is our, overriding priority, we're using workers that offer to help. So we don't want to force anybody to go in that, may be high risk or just not comfortable with working. We take their temperature, provide them masks, and maintain social distancing, along with regular cleaning and some other protective measures to make sure that people are safe. So this one is something which, we were able to find a company that didn't have, couldn't expand into the to make more ventilators. They were approved to make Ventec life-saving devices, and we're able to use some of our idled manufacturing facility space, as well as supply chain. Supply chain is huge in this, because you can imagine all the parts that you have to get and all the suppliers, ramped up, and so it was really a vast effort and came together pretty quickly. Next slide, please. So next is kind of, and this one's pretty close to home. We have a facility in Warren, Michigan that used to make transmissions, and it was idled just last year. I worked a lot on making sure we had the lowest energy use in an idle facility. They were doing really great. And then, this crisis came and people need masks. That's one of the things that, originally they said, masks don't help. And then everyone said they do help. So I wear one when I go to the grocery store. I get to go to senior hour in the first thing in the morning. So, but I always wear my mask. And so we were able to get together very quickly, and this was kind of a grassroots effort to mass produce masks using very similar safety measures that I mentioned in Kokomo. And now I'd like to share a video that kind of shows, just in 1 minute, the progress of making ventilators. And thank you very much, Eli, again, for allowing me to share. Really did appreciate it, and I'm hoping that this will spark some discussion. If you have any questions, I think Eli is going to kind of walk us through that next piece of it. And but again, thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to share.
Al, thanks one more time. I mean, this was really extraordinary, and we did a walkthrough yesterday, and I still learned. I still learned quite a bit from yesterday to when you're talking today. So I just want to thank you for sharing it. This whole presentation was significantly better for having an industry perspective and having you there to share what you're doing. So industry here with us today, and I really want to give this a chance to open it up a little. I have some questions, but if there are others who are interested in, sharing what their plans are doing, some challenges they've had, how your experience compares with what you've seen Al do, talk about that, or maybe share your experience for what you think what this will mean for the future. For is this something how you can take the lessons that we're seeing during this time, where as Al was mentioning, you can do a lot of monitoring remotely, and online energy management and tracking and tracing is something that may be able to. There may be lessons that we're seeing here that we can carry forward into the future. So we are trying to figure out how to do the questions, but if anyone has any questions or wants to share their story, just indicate and we can raise your hand and we'll try to call on you. So maybe I'll give it a minute or two to see if anyone has anything they want to share. Well, as we do, maybe Al, I'll ask you another question too, related to what I was talking about. So what did you see as what were the biggest challenges that you guys faced in pivoting one of your plants? And then secondly to that, what is your day-to-day life as the corporate energy manager or the global energy manager for GM, and how is working remotely impacted or not impacted your ability to do your job?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and appreciate that. So one thing I find is that you'd think working remotely it might be a little easier. Boy, I find I work more hours. I think that working kind of takes my mind off of the present situation that we're all in, so I just don't mind working. I work around my wife's time, and she sleeps in, so I can work really early in the morning and not get in trouble at all. But I find it a lot of people interested in energy shutdown that we haven't found in the past. So we have a lot of good supporters now at a very top level of the organization. Again, I mentioned our vice presidents to get this report, and plant directors, they all want to be the best. And one thing it's done is really helped the accuracy of our meters. So we've got a guy, Dave Ditton, that does most of our metering in the United States, and he's been on the road to repair meters in a couple plants. He's been to Kokomo to fix one of the meters there, and so it's kind of gotten the attention. Actually, one meter we had that wasn't working for a number of weeks finally got repaired. So some good things are happening, I think, from an energy management perspective.
That's really interesting. I see some names and scrolling through here that I don't view as our reticent, shy partners. So I do encourage those of you who want to share your own story or have questions for Al or questions for the Department of Energy, by all means, speak up or write in. If we've muted you and you don't want to be muted, just write that in the chat box and we can add you. Because we do very much want this to be participatory. Al, maybe take another moment and talk about I really appreciated your response. Your bringing up our 50,001 Ready program. That was something that we do very much hope to feature in the weeks after this first 6 weeks. Can you talk a little bit about how, having gone through those 25 steps, and developed your own energy management system to the ISO 50001 standard, has that prepared you for? How has that helped you and prepare for the your current working situation?
Yeah. So again, I got a great team of folks that have worked on this. They put it into kind of a standardized work format, with files on SharePoint sites, and we've shared that with all the facilities. People at each facility kind of really embrace this. DOE provided great training for us, which got us kind of set up and all organized. We had folks from Toyota there and our supply chain and others, because we really want to take this and move it across the industry. Because one thing, it's free, right? So right now we're not making much money, And so free things are really, really great for us. So Eli, so appreciate your vision, your group's vision, and putting together something like this that's been, really beneficial for us. We have most of our facilities in the United States that are able to be recognized are, and now we think, hey, this is a great program. We could just take this globally to all of our facilities. And we have an energy management system that's been in place for a number of years, and we were doing some manual tracking, but people change all the time, and they get new people in. So this is just a great way to kind of formalize what needs to be done for energy management system and identify gaps. So if a new person comes in and says, well, hey, I don't know what to do. Well, we've got we've got 25 steps that are perfect to give them a lot of guidance as to what an energy management system is all about. So our next step is to move this into Canada, Mexico, and then as well as into Brazil and Korea and China and other areas of the world.
That's fantastic, Al. A few more questions are starting to roll in. So one question we got was, when setting goals and trending energy use improvements, how are you handling changes to the plant operation and scope?
Yeah, that's going to be a bad one. As you know, the most efficient that I can be is to run 7 by 24. Yeah. And least efficient I can be is right now, because I've got the fixed energy. Although we've reduced it down to a minimum, if I'm not making vehicles and my energy intensity goal is based on a per vehicle basis, it's going to look ugly. But on the other hand, we just need to do that's kind of the situation that we're posed with. We just need to do the best we can in keeping our non-production energy down to its lowest level that we can. And we'll just have to explain our way out. One good thing is our carbon goal is an absolute goal, and so that's going to help us a little bit from an absolute standpoint. But we also have renewable energy 100 goal, and so all of those coupled together, I think our absolute goal, we're going to be in great shape. Our intensity goals, it's going to be a challenge. And 2020 is the energy intensity, water intensity goals. It will be a challenge, no doubt.
Yeah, understood. And one of the things that I really like about the program is, being able to bring our community together where everyone's facing those, similar challenges or going through things, and being able to, share in a candid and frank way with each other on what we're seeing and how we're adapting and what we're doing to, try to be the best we can be. So this was nothing GM could have foreseen or planned for. Al, another question that was raised was, for the online energy management system, do you utilize sub-meters? The person specified that we had a lot of work in ensuring metering is correct and functional.
Yeah, so we have two basic meter systems. One is we count pulses, turn it into kW at our revenue meters for electricity and gas, and that's at pretty much all of our facilities in United States, some in Canada, and then in other plants we use sub-meters. Typically for electricity, we do it at a substation. So our process has been basically anytime we put in a substation, we put in a meter with it, and then we tie it into our online energy management system, or Energy OnStar, so it can do remote monitoring. So the nice thing there is that get a utility company in Mexico, for instance, that says, okay, you can tie into my meter with a data logger. At least I have my own internal meters that I can sum up. But even in plants where I have the revenue meters I've got online, we then have the energy management system that looks at sub-meters at a substation level. And substation's good because, you can kind of identify it to a work area, and I can sum them up by building, which I do. I do virtual meters by departments, so I know, how much my paint shop uses, how much my body shop and general assembly. And then, you can kind of tie that to an area manager, a person that says, okay, this is what this is what I'm responsible for. I know what my energy per unit is. And we also send daily emails to each facility that says this is how you performed yesterday with that system. And that's been pretty helpful too, because if trying to get a monthly scorecard, looking at a monthly scorecard, figure out what you did last month is really difficult, but figuring out what you did yesterday is a little easier.
Yes, very much so. We've got a few more questions for you, Al, if you don't mind. One question we got, I swear to you, we spent, Al, you can attest to this, we spent a whole lot of time yesterday planning for how we would allow people to raise their hand and unmute them, but the chat box is working well, so we're going to keep going with that. Do your energy conservation projects compete with other cost savings on an equal basis?
Yeah, so they do at some time at some point. However, we've tried to decouple them by using energy performance contracts, and we've been doing those since about 2012. United States, we're expanding into Canada, Mexico. I've done some in Korea, and so that kind of decouples it, because now what I'm doing, we use a shared savings approach. And so if I'm saving $1 million and I'm, sharing 800,000 with a contractor over a period of, 5 years or so, then I'm really not competing with plant monies. I'm saving money. I'm saving 10 to 15%, and so it's not really an issue. We also have we used to have a large dedicated fund. I don't know if large, it was 25 million, I think, at one time, and including utility incentives. And then when we started to figure out, well, we got to transform into electric vehicles, we said, hey, some of that money is going to have to go for vehicle development, and we increased our use of energy performance contracts. So that's kind of our prime mode of getting energy projects implemented.
Wonderful, thanks, Al. Questions are now coming in fast and furious. If the production line is running on the social distance guidancing, 6 feet minimum, et cetera, what approaches could facilities take to keep the productivity still relatively better? What innovative approaches could they take to keep productivity high? For example, can one worker take care of 2 tasks on the production line?
Yeah, so we haven't figured all of that out yet, as I'm sure many of you are in the same boat with this, but we're providing masks to folks. We're, keeping the 6-foot distance. We're changing, adjusting shift times. We're going to start off slow and see how the productivity goes. So in some cases, we probably don't know the answer to that yet, and it'll be a trial and error and see how it goes. I know that safety is our overriding priority, and if we have to suffer on productivity for a while till we get out of this, we'll have to do that.
Yes, I appreciate where you're coming from, and I applaud you guys for that's the right stance in my opinion. Another question we got was, have you General Motors, and for all of these, if there's someone else who wants to chime in and share their, it's not just questions for Al, but if you want to share your own story or that's welcome too, or we can certainly facilitate a lot of these conversations offline as well. Have you, General Motors, established a cost value for carbon when considering energy projects?
So we set an internal price on carbon of about $25 per ton currently. And we did that because we sold into the marketplace in Korea at about that price. So that was kind of one that we could talk to our finance folks and say, hey, this is real, because here we got some cash back from it in Korea by turning in or selling carbon credits. So how we use that though is it really kind of helps us in prioritizing energy savings projects. So we use it as kind of and we built our online system that tracks our energy savings projects, and it calculates a payback inclusive of the price of carbon. So it helps us prioritize our energy efficiency projects. Excellent.
Yeah, this is really helpful, Al. When there was a question, I think, focusing on your renewable energy goals and your participation in the RE100. When GM's looking at renewables, how much are you looking at, self-generation at your plants versus power purchase agreements?
Yeah, so the first one that we ever did, I did one back in the 2000s, mid 2000s, at a facility, and it was on site, and we just thought, well, let's just blanket all of our roofs with solar panels, and quickly then we decided once you go to RE100, that's not possible. You don't have enough roof space to do that, or ground space. So we quickly kind of figured out that we have to have a kind of multi-tiered approach. Our 4-pillar approach really starts with energy efficiency, because I don't want to buy renewable energy, because if I can just reduce energy, and that's the best method to start with. Then we have some virtual purchase power agreements. We have straight out purchase power agreements. We rent space on our land, on our roofs, and have other people own the systems, and we just get a lease price. So there's a number of different ones. And GM's got a blueprint that we published that kind of talks about the different methods that we use, including virtual purchase power agreements, et cetera. That's public and free. I can send a link to you guys. You take a look at it.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be great. And I know that under our leadership, and Maria Vargas, who oversees all of this with the Better Buildings Initiative, has been pushing us towards looking at renewables as well. So it's definitely an important area the Department of Energy is thinking about, and it's great to have partners like you who are already so far out in front that we can work with on this. There's one more question that we got that was directed at the DOE, Al, so you're off the hook. But I at least want to acknowledge and know that it's something that we're talking a lot about internally, and hope over time to have guidance or assistance for you guys. But the question was, with the shutdowns and inefficiencies caused by the COVID crisis, models are likely going to be severely impacted in 2020. Model variables will likely not be valid due to the statistics. What advice and suggestions does DOE have to deal with this 2020 data? So knowing that we're at 157 right now, I just want to acknowledge the question and know that this is a really important concern that you have, and something that DOE is thinking a lot about, and we'll work with you all in the future, because I recognize that this is something that Al addressed in his in a response to one of the questions, and something that is probably on many of your minds. So with that, I just want to turn to the next slide and make a couple more announcements that I arguably should have made at the beginning. But first off, I want to highlight our Better Building Solutions Center that we talked about earlier. The graphic here really does a great job of showcasing. It has all of our technical tools and resources, and our these are the technology focus areas. So if you're looking at any of these industrial systems, on each of these pages, not only does it have who our technical expert is that you should work with on this, but also all of the technical resources and the case studies that we put together. It has our webinar calendar. It's really an extraordinary resource, and I encourage you to spend time on the website and leverage it as best you can. Next slide. Again, this is our calendar for the upcoming events. If you enjoyed this one, or even if you didn't, we'll get better. I encourage you to register for next week's and the weeks after. These are really great trainings. Tom Wenning will be leading the next one, which I'm really excited for, focused on the basics of energy. So next slide. And then lastly, this is something that I want to share with you. We have been planning for our Better Building Summit that I know is a highlight of the year for many of you and for many of us, to bring everyone together. This year we're going virtual, so from June 8th to June 11th, we're having the Better Building Summit, Better Buildings, Better Plants Summit, as a virtual leadership summit. So we've really been blown away by the strong registration rates already, but it should be a great couple of days of recognition and plenary speakers and interesting interactive panels and topics. And sharing best practices. So it's free. There's no cost to participate, and I really look forward to having many of you there. And I'm sure in your emails, if you haven't seen it already, we'll be profiling all of the great things that will be a part of these couple of days. Next slide. So just some contact information for Al and I, although we have Blair's email there for Al. Blair will be reaching out to you for any questions that Al received, but we can share Al's email afterwards. But certainly send them to me or send them to our web team, and we will we'll be happy to direct them and answer any further questions that we didn't get to. I know we got a lot of great questions there. So with that, I just want to thank all of you for being part of the webinar today. I want to encourage all of you to keep staying safe, and thank you for all the leadership your plans have been showing in helping America respond to this pandemic. So thank you for being part of today's webinar, and I look forward to virtually seeing you all next week at the next topic. So thank you all very much.